They say trust is the glue that holds families together, but trust without boundaries can be a trap. I'm Eleanor Whitford, born in 1956 in Perth, Australia. Back in my early 60s, after decades of hard work in the aviation industry, I retired thinking I had secured a peaceful life. I felt relieved, ready to enjoy my savings and live quietly, but then something happened that shook me to my core. Today, at 69, sitting in my lakeside apartment, I'm finally sharing this because I know there's someone out there who needs to hear it. If you're listening, drop your location below and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true stories. The first signs were so small, I almost ignored them. My daughter-in-law, Claudia Everly, had always been active on social media. Glamorous shots of wine tastings, rooftop dinners, and carefully staged, candid photos filled her feed. She liked to tag me sometimes, usually with captions like, "Thanks to the best mom-in-law ever." But one Tuesday afternoon, while scrolling on my tablet, I noticed something that didn't sit right. Claudia had posted a picture of herself holding a glass of champagne in what looked like a five-star resort lounge. The caption read, "Maldives, here we come," with a little plane emoji and a heart. That alone wouldn't have been suspicious except I hadn't heard anything about them planning a Maldives trip. And the way she worded it, almost as if I had something to do with funding it, set off a quiet alarm in my mind. I told myself maybe I was overthinking. But an hour later, when I logged into my online banking account to pay an electricity bill, my chest tightened. My emergency fund, an account I barely touched, holding $44,000, was almost completely drained. At first, I thought it had to be a banking error. I called the bank immediately. The representative politely informed me that the transfers had been made over several weeks, not all at once, and all appeared to be authorized through my online account. My stomach sank. I was the only one with the login details, or so I thought. That night, I lay awake, replaying every moment from the past few months. Lucas Whitford, my son, had been helping me update my laptop a while back. He'd insisted it was running slow and offered to optimize it. I hadn't thought twice when he asked for my online banking login, saying he needed to check if the automatic bill payments were going through. He'd even reassured me, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll log out when I'm done." 2 days later, the confirmation came in the most infuriating way. I was on my way to the mailbox when I heard voices drifting from the side of the house. Lucas and Claudia were sitting on the back porch, speaking in low tones. I froze when I caught Claudia's words, "We're set. Flights and villa all booked. Honestly, your mom's savings came through at the perfect time." Lucas chuckled, replying, "Yeah, she'll never notice. It's not like she checks that account often. And once we get the brand partnership deal, we can replace it." My pulse pounded in my ears. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the wall to steady myself. The betrayal was one thing, but hearing them talk about my hard-earned money as if it were their personal ATM was a wound that went deeper than I could put into words. I forced myself to walk back inside, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. But that night, I opened my laptop and began digging. Every transaction, every date, every amount, I wrote it all down. I even printed out the bank logs and highlighted the transfers that matched up with Claudia's social media posts. Her weekend spa retreat? $1,200 gone that same day. The luxury shopping spree she documented in Sydney? Another $2,500 gone. Piece by piece, I was building a map of their theft. Still, I knew confronting them without proof wouldn't be enough. I needed someone who understood how to lock this down airtight. That's when I called Helena Morris, a former colleague from my aviation days. Helena now worked in financial compliance and fraud investigation. She listened quietly as I explained everything, her voice calm but firm. "Eleanor, what they've done is more than a breach of trust, it's illegal. If you want, I can help you create a full chain of custody records. That way, if you decide to take action, nothing will get dismissed as hearsay." For the next week, Helena and I worked together every evening. She taught me how to cross-reference timestamps from bank statements with metadata from Claudia's photos. We even pulled up the public flight booking records to confirm their travel itinerary. The evidence was irrefutable. Lucas had logged into my account multiple times from his own device, something my bank could verify. and the signature on one of the withdrawal forms clearly didn't match mine. By the time we were done, I had a binder thick enough to make a judge raise an eyebrow. I remember sitting there, running my fingers over the edge of the papers, feeling both heartbroken and strangely powerful. They thought I was naive. They thought I'd never find out. The day before their scheduled flight, I asked Lucas to come by. He walked in wearing a smug grin, like nothing was wrong. I motioned for him to sit at the dining table. "Lucas," I began, my voice calm but unshakable, "I know what you've done. I have the bank logs, the device records, the signature discrepancies, all of it." He blinked, his grin faltering. "Mom, don't," I said sharply. "Don't insult me with lies. I trusted you. You took my savings without permission. That money was for emergencies, real emergencies. And now, I'm done." I slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a copy of the transfer of lease papers for my house. "I'm moving to a smaller apartment by the lake. I don't want you or Claudia here again. The locks will be changed tomorrow." Lucas's face went pale. For a moment, he looked like he might argue, but instead, he stood and walked out without another word. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. It was Claudia. She sounded nervous, almost rehearsed. "Eleanor, look. I know you're upset. But listen, we've got this brand partnership lined up from the Maldives trip. It'll pay more than what we used. We can send you the money back." I took a deep breath before answering. "Claudia, this isn't about the money anymore. It's about peace. I'm not interested in reimbursement, and I'm certainly not interested in forgiveness. Not today. I just want my life back." I hung up without waiting for her reply, staring out the window at the fading sunset. The hurt was still raw, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a small sense of control returning. That night, I packed the last of my belongings into boxes, ready to leave behind not just my home, but the version of myself who thought unconditional trust was always a virtue. The morning I left my old house, the air felt heavy, like the walls themselves knew the chapters we'd lived through. I locked the door for the last time, slid the keys into an envelope for the new tenant, and drove toward my new place by the lake. My heart was a strange mix of grief and relief, grieving for the trust I'd lost, relieved that I had finally drawn a line in the sand. The apartment was small but bright, with windows that caught the early sun and a balcony that looked over the still water. For the first few days, I spent hours just sitting outside, sipping tea and listening to the soft lap of waves against the shore. It was the first time in years that my phone wasn't constantly buzzing with Lucas's requests or Claudia's subtle manipulations disguised as family updates. Still, there were moments when the silence felt deafening. I'd catch myself glancing at my phone, half expecting a call or text from Lucas, maybe even an apology. It didn't come, at least, not right away. Instead, what came was a strange sense of possibility. Without their demands, my time was my own again. I started walking along the lakeside paths each morning, breathing in the crisp air, letting my mind wander without the weight of constant suspicion. One afternoon, while wandering through the local community center, I noticed a flyer for a skills-sharing group. The title read, "Protecting Your Assets: Life Lessons from Experience." Something in me stirred. I'd spent weeks gathering evidence, learning how to secure accounts, and understanding the paper trail of fraud. Maybe it was time to turn that pain into something useful. The following Thursday, I attended my first meeting. There were about a dozen of us, mostly retirees, a few middle-aged women recovering from messy divorces, and one young man who'd been scammed by a business partner. When it came to my turn, I told my story. I didn't sugarcoat it. I explained how I'd trusted Lucas with my login, how Claudia had flaunted the stolen money online, how I'd traced every cent with Helena's help. To my surprise, people leaned in, eyes wide. One woman, Margaret Doyle, clutched her notebook and said, "I had no idea you could match social media timestamps to bank transactions. I'm going home to check my accounts tonight." Another man said, "You just saved me from giving my nephew my login details." That was the moment I realized my experience wasn't just a cautionary tale, it was a shield I could hand to others. Weeks passed, and my days took on a new rhythm. Mornings by the lake. Afternoons at the skills group. Evenings reading on my balcony. I felt lighter. The bitterness didn't vanish overnight, but it no longer sat on my chest like a stone. And then, one rainy afternoon, an envelope appeared in my mailbox with Lucas's handwriting on it. I stood there for a moment, fingers trembling slightly before I opened it. Inside was a single-page letter. "Mom," it began, "I've spent the last few weeks thinking about what you said. At first, I was angry. You know I've never been good at admitting when I'm wrong. But you were right. I took from you, and in doing so, I betrayed you. Claudia and I thought we were being clever, that we'd replace the money before you noticed. But that doesn't erase the fact that we stole from you. I've tried to reverse the transfers. The bank says it will take time, but I'm doing it because I need to, not because I expect you to forgive me. I understand why you left. I just hope one day we can talk again." I read it twice, my eyes blurring. Part of me wanted to crumple it and throw it away. Another part wanted to call him immediately. But I didn't do either. I set the letter on my kitchen counter and walked out to the balcony. The rain had stopped, and a pale rainbow was stretching over the lake. Helena called that evening, checking in as she often did. When I told her about the letter, she said, "Eleanor, sometimes peace doesn't come from mending every relationship. Sometimes it comes from knowing you've set your boundaries and kept them." Her words stayed with me. In the months that followed, Lucas didn't call again, and I didn't reach out. But I heard from mutual acquaintances that he'd taken a contract job overseas, and that Claudia's social media had grown quieter. I didn't stalk them, didn't check for updates because, for the first time in years, their lives were no longer my concern. One evening, during our skills-sharing session, a new woman joined the group. She was nervous, twisting her hands as she spoke. "My son's been asking for access to my accounts," she said, "and I don't want to seem distrustful, but..." I smiled gently and said, "Trust is important, but so are boundaries. Protect yourself first." It's not unkind. It's wise. Walking home that night, I realized the person who had moved into this lakeside apartment months ago was not the same woman, leaving the community center now. I wasn't living in fear anymore. I wasn't waiting for the next betrayal. I'd stepped out of the role of the ever-giving mother and into the role of my own protector. This wasn't a fall from grace. It was a shedding of expectations, of guilt, of the belief that love means sacrificing your security. I had chosen peace. And peace, I found, was worth more than any sum of money. To anyone listening, remember this. Your boundaries are the fences that protect your peace. Guard them, even from those you love, because peace is the greatest gift you can keep for yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with a friend who needs the reminder. And in the comments, tell me what's one boundary you've set that's changed your life? Moral lesson: peace blooms where trust meets boundaries. Protect your worth without apology, for the love you give is strongest when it's safeguarded.